And that means we are live.
But you know this shit's fire.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another live Pin the Gas podcast on this beautiful Friday afternoon. You guys know the deal and the routine. This episode is sponsored by Next Level Financial. Take total control of your financial future. Get your complimentary financial needs analysis today through Seth Starnes. And of course, Phillip, what I tell everybody, don't buy an off-the-rack suit. I mean, if you're going to buy a suit, get you a full custom suit. And when you do that, you need to go to bisontrack.com. Sign up. It's super simple. And you choose the design, the logos, your name, water pack, perforated, non-perforated, kangaroo, cowhide. You know this spill, Phillip. You've been down this road, right? Because your son, which is the champ, actually is in bison. So listen, people, again, bisontrack.com. Trust me, you will love it and you'll thank me later. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute honor to sit down today with Phillip Chapin. What is going on, bro?
Not a whole lot. Just trying to recover from the weekend.
What a proper mega weekend it was at Jersey too, right?
Oh yeah, it was a blast. Had a good time. Had a lot of friends and family there. It was a great time.
It always is, man. I love going to the races and hanging out with all my friends there, which I always call our beautiful circus, right? Which is true. It's true. But listen, man, we got so much to talk about. I've been so excited about this podcast. So, man, let's just jump into it. Phil, tell us the story of what it takes, the ins and outs to raise a legend such as your son.
I definitely honored to hear that, a legend. But yeah, he's just my kid. You know, he's a good kid. Matthew's been a great kid raising him, and he's passionate about everything he does. I can tell you how we started, and maybe it can help people that are out there that would like to hear how to get a kid into racing and to get to the professional level. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of patience, and a lot of dedication. Yeah, I mean, when Matthew was 1, we got him on a coaster bike, a little Strider bike. I mean, as soon as he was walking, he was riding 2 wheels. He learned to balance that thing in no time. I mean, I remember sitting on the deck, you know, having a cookout with friends, and Matthew would ride around us all night long, just both. Then I'd have to go, hey, go the other way now, you know, because he would just be sliding the thing all over the place. At age 3, we put him on a 2-wheel bike, and I put training wheels on it. And he came in, he was whining. He's like, Daddy, I can't turn the bike, I can't lean it. And this is a 3-year-old telling me this, and I'm looking at him. He's like, take the training wheels off. And when I went outside to see what he was doing, the training wheels were bent all the way up. He had leaned the bicycle over so much that the training wheels were no good anyway. So I took them off, and he's like, I want a motorcycle. I want a motorcycle. I mean, he was saying it like 2, 3 years old. He wanted a motorcycle. That's all he cared about. He wanted a motorcycle. And so I told him, I said, you learn to ride a 2-wheeler, you can have a motorcycle. I mean, within a week, he's riding by himself, riding down the bike path. I mean, he's this little guy out there just riding it. People would stop and look at him like, how is this kid riding a bicycle at this age? You know, so we bought him a PW50. And my wife worked during the day. I worked at night. And so I had him all day, and I had nothing to do. So we would ride motorcycles all day. We ride that little PW50. I get on the back, my knees were to my ears. And all we would do is I would say, okay, you know, let's go, use the throttle, you know, let's use the front brake as you're going into the turn. You know, we're gonna go ahead and use the rear brake, and just talk them through everything. And I mean, you're talking about a 3-year-old on a motorcycle, so you really have a very small attention span. So I wouldn't push him so much to where he would get bored with it. I mean, we would ride for 10 minutes, and then we would hang out underneath the tree talking, you know, just and I would say, what did you do right? And he'd tell me a couple of things. What'd you do wrong? Because I was trying to get him to give me information back and understand what he's doing. And we would talk about stuff and just have good conversations, you know, father-son conversations, but they were, you know, around motorcycles. Don't get me wrong, we still had other things we did. I mean, it was a lot of fun, but like, yeah, I would just fill him up halfway through the day and try to fatten him up so he'd go to sleep, you know, so he'd take a nap so I could get a nap because I had to work at night. Yeah, so he was riding. I remember the first day he rode by himself on a motorcycle. He was probably just turned 4, and I was like, "You ready?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I didn't tell my wife, like, he's about ready to go. And he went out of my sight. I was in the back, in the backyard, and he rode around to the front. And my wife comes screaming around the corner running, and she's crying. I'm like, "Oh my God, he ran into the car." And like, I'm stressed out. Like, I'm like, "Oh, I'm in trouble now." And she's crying with excitement. She's like, "Oh my God, he's riding by himself and he's so small." And I'm like, okay. So he comes back around. He's like, look, daddy, just what the little kids do. And yeah, so he rode that PW50 until he rode the wheels off. I mean, he was dragging around turns. I remember one time he high sided it right in front of me. I'm following around like on an XR 100, and he high sided, landed on his head. But I mean, we definitely bought the best safety equipment because he was so young. We made sure he had like a neck collar, and he had a good helmet. Like, we made sure he had a chest protector. I mean, those things are more important than whatever motorcycle you have. You have to have the right equipment. Um, so yeah, I mean, he had landed right on his head, and I'm like, oh my God, like he's done. I was so stressed out about it, and he's crying. I go up to him, and I'm like, "You okay?" And he's like, "I think so." And he's like, "I'm going inside." I said, "Well, you can't go inside." He's like, "Why?" I said, "How's your motorcycle going to get back?" And he's like, "I, I don't know." I said, "You have to ride it back." So that's the one thing I will tell people. You cannot let them walk away after having a fall. You have to put them back on it. I mean, of course, if they're not injured. I mean, he wasn't injured. He was just scared. And so I said, "Okay, ride it back to the shed. Let's put it away." And he started riding toward the shed, and he made another right and kept on going again. And I knew at that point he loved it. And I knew at that point, like, he's over that fear already. And that's really important because I hear a lot of parents saying, "I let my kid ride a motorcycle and they fell off and they don't want to get back on it." Well, you have to make sure to get back on it. I'm not saying you have to force them. And of course, if they're hurt, never put them back on it until they're ready to go again. But you have to build confidence. And that was really important with teaching him how to ride. Um, from there, we went to a Cobra 50, which that thing's a ripper. That thing was a two-stroke monster, and I was scared of the thing. When I first jumped on it, a friend of ours sold it to us real cheap, and I jumped on it, and I remember looping it. I looped it right over. It just kicked me right off. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting ready to put a 5-year-old on this thing. But no, he just rode it and got faster and faster. We did a couple motocross races with it, and I thought he was going to go that route, motocross, and so we went to a KTM 65 next. He rode that. I mean, he was probably 7 or 8. He had a KTM 65, and we have a lot of trails behind the house and things like that. So he just ripped all the time. I mean, I would let him ride if he wanted to ride. I never really told him no unless we had something going on. If he wanted to ride, I didn't push him. I just would let him ride. I never
Yeah.
pushed him, but I was not going to be that parent. Oh, I'm watching football. I'm just going to sit on the couch. No, if he wanted to ride, I would take him out and ride with him, even if I didn't feel like it. If I was tired or whatever, I just let him ride.
Yeah. I
Um,
do the same with Rossi when he wants to. Funny story, real quick, about
yeah,
what you just said. Uh, you're so right. When the child falls off the bike, they're not injured. You don't force them to get back on. You just want to see if they will get back on it and do it themselves. My son did the same thing. He crashed, and I was like, he's like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "You pick up the bike and you ride it." He was just like, "Okay," and he got over and rode. And from that moment, I was like, "He's okay with it, right?" It's that falling down, scared, coming over that fear that you have, because if not, you put, especially at that young age, Philip, you put this mental block in your mind, and it carries throughout pretty much your life sometime unless you fight and find a way to overcome that, right?
right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's
And
very important.
that's part of being encouraging, and giving them the confidence, tell them they can get back on it, and tell them it's going to be okay. And it's okay to, you know, learn from it. I don't tell them like be afraid of it, but you got to learn from your falls. What did you do wrong? How did it happen? Let's talk about it. And the one we're talking about, he actually drug the foot peg. I watched it happen, and it lifted up the rear tire and it made him high side. And I mean, to have a high side at like 4 or 5 years old, it's probably frightening. I mean, it's frightening at this age. But
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so Matthew told me, like, I used to road race myself, and he saw pictures around the house and things like that, and we talked about it, things like that. Well, he's like, I want to road race, and at the time, I was seeing Kayla Yakoff doing real well. She was little, and Dave Yakoff and I go way back. We rode together years ago, and actually I rode out of his shop. He helped me out a lot, and so I hit up Dave. I called him. I said, "Hey, what do I need to do to get the kids started road racing?" And he directed me to New Jersey Mini GP. And that's where we ended up going. And I didn't know who all these guys were. I didn't know we were getting ready Robert Brandon Posh and Gus Rodeo, Joe Lamondre, and I mean these guys are legends. And he's out there learning from the best. And Nathan and all those guys teaching. It was unreal. It was a great experience. I mean, we showed up with the KLX 110, and Ryan, one of the co-owners, said, "Hey, you need to get a CRF 50. You need to put them on a little bike." I said, "Okay." So we went and bought a CRF 50, and he started racing it. His goal was not to finish last every time. And then next thing you know, he's up there battling with like Logan Cunnison, and they're little. I mean, they were little guys racing each other, and Owen Granoff, and all these guys are just banging bars at like 8-9 years old. It was awesome. And so we graduated. We kind of worked through it. The XR 100, the TTR 125, and then he got on a CRF 150R, and that's when we started meaning business. That thing was a rocket. He weighed probably 70 pounds, and he was just riding the wheels off it. Then the O'Valleys came out, and New Jersey had O'Valley 110, and I ended up hitting up Brandon Cretu and said, "Hey, when they're done with it, can I buy it?" So I went up, bought it, and that was a Christmas present for Matthew, and he was just so excited. We rode that for a year or so, and then in 2020 we did the mini cup on the O'Valley. He did the 160, and that was an awesome experience. I mean, we met a lot of great people. I mean, we raced against the Drayers of all people doing that, and never knowing like where we're going to end up. After last weekend too, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a great experience. And then in 2022 they announced that North American Talent Cup at the time on the Aprilias. And I remember we were driving down to my in-laws in Daytona, and my wife and I were talking about on the way, and Matthew's like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" We're trying to like figure out what to do, and I'm talking to Nathan to see if he'd recommend us. And yeah, we ended up signing up to do North American Talent Cup. We had no idea what we were getting into. The kid had never raced on a big track, and we show up to Coda. The bike is there waiting on us. We have to safety wire, get it ready. And his first round of racing was at Coda during a MotoGP weekend.
Crazy. Crazy, right? Especially being, and that's a proper track for your first track too.
Oh my God. And I remember watching him, and he wasn't even using the whole track. He's still riding like a mini track, and I'm like, we got some work to do. And my buddy Chuck, who helps tune with us and works with us on our pit, on our crew, he's like, "Oh man, he's got to push it." He's like going 100 miles an hour. He's thinking like he's ready to be like a ripper at this point. And he was fast on the mini track. Don't get me wrong, but he had a lot to learn on the big track. And that's what we were using the Talent Cup. It was perfect. It was a perfect timing for us to Matthew. He was 14 years old. He was just eligible to ride it. And he ended up going and riding the Talent Cup. So from there, I mean, we were trying to battle not to finish last. We were trying to let him develop, but also he needed to give us feedback. The bike had some limited data on it, and we were starting to get information. Like I was trying to teach him how to understand gearing, how to understand what the suspension's doing, things like that. And I'm trying to learn a new bike as well because I'm working on it every time at the track. So we went from there. We went out to Colorado the next round, and I'm not even going to get into the drive over there. At one point, I'm airborne in my truck, and my toy haulers behind me. Airborne.
Right. Hold up. I gotta hear the story now, Phillip. You can't just give me a little bit of that. What's the story? How did this happen?
So the tumbleweeds you see in the old Western movies and things like that. So I'm driving from Austin, Texas to Denver, Colorado by myself. My family's they're back in Maryland. And so I'm driving I'm driving on roads. I haven't seen houses in like hours. I'm worried about not having fuel because there's just nothing. I mean, there's nothing. It's like ghost towns. And I'm talking with my wife on the phone, and I'm going through an intersection, not really paying attention. Maybe I should have been paying attention, but not paying attention. And the intersection had a rise in it. And I was probably going 55 through there, and
allegedly.
Next thing you know, I'm in the air. I have, 10,000-pound toy hauler behind me with a bunch of bikes. I'm hauling for other people too. And I hit hard. My phone falls on the ground. My wife's like, "What is going on?" I have coffee, I have food, I have helmets, I have everything flying around this truck, everything spilled everywhere. So yeah, so I didn't break anything other than a couple doors off the cabinets inside the toy hauler. But yeah, the bike stayed up, but everything in the cabinets was on the ground. Some little bit of glass. I had to stop in the next town that I saw a couple hours later and buy a broom to clean everything up. It was an absolute mess. But yeah, yeah. So I didn't crash, but yeah, I can't believe I didn't destroy my truck when I went airborne. But yeah,
Dukes of Hazzard story, right? It'd have been perfect if you hit the horn.
oh yeah. So yeah, it was an interesting drive up to Denver, Colorado. I mean, I could see hills, thinking that they're like 10 minutes away and they were probably like 4 hours away because you could see the Rockies coming up. But yeah, it was interesting. So anyway, we raced the next round at I think it was High Springs. Um, it's a track out there just outside of Denver, and Matthew got in the top 10 for the first time. I mean, there were some fast kids in that group. I mean, fast kids, and he got in the top 10. That was his first time, and we celebrated like he won the race. Just to be encouraging, and that's what I'm getting to. Also, you got to be encouraging with these guys and girls. I mean, you got to understand they're gonna have their ups and downs. They're gonna have their falls, but you any kind of achievement, you got to just reward them and be happy with it, and that's what we did. And so then we did a couple more rounds, and we ended up back near at Pittsburgh, and that was the only track that he had ridden before in that round or in that series. And he got in the top 5 at Pittsburgh, and we had a lot of family there. Pittsburgh's about 3 hours from our house, so it was a huge celebration, a lot of fun. And then we did Road Atlanta, and anyway, he ended up like I think 12th or 13th in points. He only had one DNF, and that was my fault. It was a mechanical issue. I just messed up on something, and we're not going to get into that. But that was totally my fault. But yeah, he didn't fall off the bike all year. He got better, got faster, and he was able to run some decent times. And we were going to do the North American Talent Cup again the next year, and it got canceled. So by chance, I had 2 auction 400s because we were thinking about the next step. A friend of mine was like, "Hey, I got these 2 400s. I'll throw you a deal on them." So we picked them up fairly cheap, started building them. So all we did in 2023, so 2022 to 2023, the winter was the first time we went down to Jennings, and we practiced all winter long. So I let him ride the Talent Cup bike that we still had, and then we also rode the 400, and he was learning it as well as I was. And Kevin Rodeo was down there. He helped me out a lot with trying to get the bike set up. He was showing me how the suspension worked, things like that. And so we're out there changing springs, and I'm just like writing notes down, trying to learn this bike because this bike was very different than any other bike that we've dealt with. The Aprilia was more like a race bike. The Ninja 400 is basically taking a street bike and trying to make it a race bike. So so we ended up taking 400 and doing club racing all of 2023. And he rode that bike. We tried to get him on the track at least, 2 or 3 times a month. Like we were following every ASRA race, WERA race. We were doing track days. I just wanted to get him on the bike and get him comfortable. We did a couple endurance races with N2, and he started getting faster and faster on it. And most of the kids that went from the Talent Cup, they went into Junior Cup early. I say early, that would have been early for us, but I didn't feel like we were ready yet. So we ended up just doing a lot of club races, get the kid on the bike, get a lot of seat time, get him faster, build up confidence. And so we had talked about it. He's like, "Well, when can I do Junior Cup?" I said, "You need to get close to the qualifying time, the top qualifying time for Junior Cup." I said, "And at that point, we'll consider it." Well, we went up to Pittsburgh, and he was running some pretty quick lap times. He was doing, I think 159s in a club race. And I think qualifying was around a 157, but that whole chicane thing changes things. But he was right there. And I said, "Okay, we'll do one round at Pittsburgh. And if you do well there, then we'll consider doing New Jersey because those are the last 2 rounds of 2023. He got in the top 10 twice at Pittsburgh, his first time out. Shocking. I mean, I was proud of him. He was competing. I remember he was battling with Levy Batty, who had just won up in Minnesota. He won the race before, and Eli Block. And it's just a funny story. That's how we met Eli, and that's how we became friends. Eric and I became friends. Eli and I became friends. Matthew and Eli, like it was like Eli was Matthew's big brother. And so Matt, we go from there. We go over to New Jersey. Um, New Jersey was torrential downpours, hurricane conditions, and like mentally, Matthew wasn't really there for that round, and no excuse. He just didn't ride well at that round. He was fast in practice, morning warm in a dry, but he really had no rain experience. Because during the Talent Cup series, we really had no rain. Like we had rain tires we never used. We got lucky, and so he needed to build his confidence in the rain. By chance, when we went back down to Florida to Jennings and did a couple other tracks, Homestead, it rained a lot. We caught every weekend, I think, but one with rain, and his confidence in the rain went up. And I think you kind of saw that Road America. Because Road America, like when he was up in the front, I was shocked just as much as everybody else, and he was out there battling, competing with Isaac and Avery, and that was just a cool race to watch. But yeah, I knew his confidence was there in the rain at that point, and just yeah. So that's what we basically have been doing with him. It was just a stepping stone all the way through his riding career, and building confidence and teaching him how to give us feedback and being encouraging, even though sometimes it wasn't the best experience at the track. If he'd fall off, we'd be like, hey, what happened? Why did it happen? He needs to understand why it's happening. I can tell you the kid doesn't fall off very often, which helps my pocket. It keeps it a little bit thicker with money. But yeah, he doesn't fall off that often. And because I'll tell you one funny thing, a funny story. So when we were up at Brainerd this year, he started getting up there in points. He started to lead the points. And I said, Matthew, you're there in points. Like you can win this championship. I said, it's unbelievable to me, but you can win this championship, but you got to bring the bike home. You need to finish these races. I said, don't push it so hard that you're going to fall off this bike. And he looked at me in my eyes and he goes, Dad, I don't push hard like that. He goes, I just ride the motorcycle. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like, I know when I raced, I was on edge every corner. Yeah, just full throttle. And if it didn't work out, I was on my head or on my side, the bike's tumbling down the track. But I mean, that's what he told me. He goes, I just ride. And at that point, I knew he was pretty confident in his riding and that he wasn't pushing himself to the limit where he's almost crashing every time he's on the track. And that's reassuring, really, because that made me feel pretty good about what we did in the past to prepare him to get there, because now his confidence is where he can ride within his level and he's not above his level and taking unnecessary risks.
Oh,
So
for
that's
sure.
pretty much it.
100%. Speaking of Eric and Eli, Jersey was last year when the Tour Digital ran. As the first year I met him, and dude, Eric is absolutely an amazing human being, man. His energy is like, yeah, they're awesome guys, and that's one thing I love, Philip, about our community. It's you show up and not knowing first time, and everybody's there to help you. You ask
Yeah.
questions, and everybody helps you with whatever gearing, suspension, the whole nine. Even you raced back in the day, but the game's changed since your son started racing a lot, right?
Yes.
So it's like relearning everything all over again, even though you had some previous knowledge going into it. So tell everybody how easy it is to, if they're interested in getting their kid in like SFL Mini in New Jersey. What steps do they got to take to get there? And obviously, you can rent bikes too and gear and all that if they don't have it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy actually. If you just go on the website, if you want to go, there's South Florida does it, and South Florida actually has their own race series, South Florida Mini GP, and they have their own website. New Jersey Mini GP. Right now, they're not doing races, but they're doing a lot of training. And you want to talk about good training? Both organizations, they're related, but they do great training. This is where all the faster people are coming from in our country. The younger kids are coming out of these Mini GP series, and training, and it's unreal. Yeah, you can rent bikes, you can rent gear, and it's probably a good thing to rent the first time anyway, because if your kid doesn't like it, you're not spending an arm and a leg and having to sell things again. you know I would say go out and try it out. We did, and we actually went up for one weekend just to see what was going on. We went up to New Jersey Mini GP, and I talked to Ryan, and I said, hey, we're going to come up. Can you just show us around? And literally he showed us around. I mean, we were treated like guests, and he treated us well. I met a lot of good people through New Jersey Mini GP. And when I say that, like that's how I met Kevin Rodeo and Gus Rodeo. And Kevin really was a lot of help for us. Behind the scenes, he was a lot of help. He helped us with setup. We had great discussions. I mean, between Kevin and I, we could probably talk your ears off because like we have a lot to say, but good people. I'm telling you, good people. I mean, he didn't keep holding anything back. He'll tell you how it is, but he also wants to be helpful. And Kevin really helped us a lot to get where we are and to help with this championship. And I can't go without saying Colin Barton. He treated Matthew like his own son. It was such an opportunity to get on Barcon, and it was awesome. Mike from Triple Strong Racing. I mean, that's who built our bike. And believe it or not, we were on the same engine since 2023. Mike put that bike together before the Pittsburgh round of 2023, and we rode the same engine all year long. We never changed it because we figured if they tore it down at that point, we would go ahead and freshen it up. They never tore it down. The bike ran great. That bike ran great for a lot of races, and we really have had no issues with it. And I'm telling you that the guy can build a bike. I mean, he built our bike, and it was unbelievably good. I mean, you could see we were still able to run up front. I mean, Avery and Ella's bike's fast. Eli's bike was fast, and we were up there in New Jersey. I mean, we're running on an engine that was over a year old, and it was still super strong.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I wonder how many other kids in the 400 could say that class. I don't know if anybody had any major issues engine wise this year.
No, they were pretty reliable. I think we all picked up by this point. I think the number one problem we were having with the Ninja 400s, and we even experienced it when we were doing club racing, it was the clutch. And you had to understand how to adjust it. And the yo-yo dying clutch inside our bike worked really well. And we would check out the plates, make sure they were in good shape. And like every other race, I would change them out just to make sure, because you don't want to lose your clutch in the middle of a race. So our goal was to keep the bike very reliable. And like I changed the oil every weekend. I kind of got picked on a little bit about being a little bit overboard with the maintenance. Like I made sure our bike was good every time he went out. Like that was my goal. And really Mike too. Mike was great about it. And Chuck, I mean, it was, if I had missed something, they were there to catch it. And we made sure that bike was going to be reliable. I mean, we put a new chain on the bike every weekend just to make sure we didn't have issues. I mean, I couldn't imagine, losing a championship because you were being cheap to buy, an $80 chain, so we just did what we had to do. I mean, yeah, actually, it was funny. I told Mike at New Jersey, I tried to give him the old chain off the bike because I changed it on Friday. And I was like, hey, you can wear this one as a necklace. And Mike's like, oh, I should, you know how big Mike is. He's a big dude. So look like Mr. T,
with the arcade chain around his neck. Let's go. Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. We actually have a couple comments coming in. Matt Hall. What's up, Matt? He says, what's going on, guys? Confidence is the name of the game. Absolutely. He says that, my Billy Pager, what is up? He says, hi, Chris. Hi, Phillip. Matt says, damn, 59s is hauling ass on a 400. It is. Absolutely, it is. He also said that's unheard of for a race bike. It's absolutely not a miracle, but it just goes to show the build quality of the builder that put that motor together in his work. Speaks volumes of his work for sure. And then Matt says my bike gets an oil change when I remember it.
Yeah.
And speaking of Kevin Rodeo real quick, yes, dude, he is an absolute man. If we had more people like you, Phillip, and Kevin in our paddock would be such a better place. Not saying that there's nothing wrong with it now, but the amount of love and support that they give for everybody, and you two as well, is I love to see it. That's what makes our place so special, is people like you, for sure.
Appreciate that.
And Kevin, I met Kevin. Every time I see him, it's nothing but open arms. Of course, Gus. It's always a great time with Kevin, right? But we won't tell those stories on here. those are not for the podcast stories.
Yeah, well, it's cool. Like Gus, Joe, I mean, just all those guys every weekend would come by and check on Matthew. How are things going? How do you like this turn? How do you like that turn? The New Jersey Mini GP family sticks together. And I always heard Ryan and Nathan talking about that, about how they stick together. It is so true. Like if you need anything, even if it's something like you just need to be brought up because you're down because you had a rough qualifying or something like that, I always could count on one of the New Jersey Mini GP riders to come in and talk to Matthew and see where he's at, in his head and things like that. And you know, that's a great feeling knowing that people have your back like that. It really is. It's great. I can tell you a funny story. Marty, he raced his first junior cup race,
Yep.
Monty Salem.
Yep.
His dad Sam is like, every time he's like, I want to be next to you. I'm like, why? He goes, because you got all the parts. I think I was like the dealership at some of these, some of these rounds. Like people come by, hey, you got this? Yes. Do you have this? Yes. Like I always made sure we were prepared, but I had no problem giving parts to people or loaning parts to people if they need them so that the other kids could ride, even if they were our competitors. I mean, that's important. You got to be willing to do that. Even if you're having a rough weekend, you got to think they're having a rough weekend too if they're asking you for something. And if we can help others out, I mean, that's the name of the game. It's a big family out here. It really is.
Absolutely. And speaking of Maddie and Sam, his dad, man, he walked up to me, gave me a big old hug, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" He's like, "Oh, I love your podcast. Well, come meet my son Maddie and all this." But dude, he fed me this meal. Big shout out, Sam. Thank you so much for the hospitality, man. I have no idea what it was, Phillip. No idea, but I know one thing: it was absolutely amazing. He said, "Did you eat it all?" I was like, "Bro, yeah, thank you." It was so it would have been next time you need to yes, absolutely pit next to him, have his wife make you some of that good food. You'd be like, yeah, absolutely. You guys need a sprocket for a plate of that food? Gotcha.
We did a club round this year, and he was barring a couple of things. I can't remember. We were helping him set up the bike for Junior Cup, and all I know is he comes out with his egg sandwich. I mean, the bread was probably like 8.5 by 11. It was like it was huge. And he's like, "Hey, I made you a sandwich." Again, mini GP family right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I met them. And Sahib, their older son, they call him
Yeah.
Sushi. He raced the Talent Cup with us, and just good people. There's so many good people in the paddock, and for people that haven't been to a Moto America round or even a club round, I recommend it. Like, come out and talk to people because really everyone is very outgoing and very friendly to each other, and it's fun just to talk to the racers. I mean, that's Matthew grew up in the paddock. We used to go to New Jersey Motorsports Park and let them meet all the riders. Cambobier and PJ, all those guys. They're just nice people.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when you just sit down on TV and you watch like your son Matthew and Levy and all these kids and Cambodia and all that, but when you become part of the inner circle and you get to know them as a human being, you just realize they're just average people like me and you, right? Um, and that the love and support that they give not only for the fans but all the upcoming kids too, because I'm always seeing the kids talk to them. They always stop to give them advice. Like Josh Hayes, he's always running around talking to everybody, giving everybody advice and stuff. It's a beautiful thing to see. It's also helping our sport grow too as well. So everybody does their part, man. So listen, I want to talk about 2024, which was an absolute proper mega year for you guys, right? So first season in Junior Cup, first full season. Um, Obviously going into this year, did you have any certain expectations in your mind, Phillip, that you never told Matthew coming into this season, or in your mind, let's just show up, have fun, see where we end up. As long as we progress every race, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, so Matthew grew up playing a lot of sports, and he's always been on championship teams. Like since age 6, he was playing quarterback in football, and he learned to read defenses and just really how to compete and work with a team and things like that. And so yeah, his confidence is up, and I know he can work to adversity and things like that. So going into Road Atlanta, I really didn't know what to expect. I mean, I wanted him to be able to compete, and we talked about we just needed to stick with that front pack, and that was our goal: stick with the front pack and see where we end up at the end. Road Atlanta is its own like craziness because Road Atlanta is really that first race was one of my favorite races of the season because just watch Eli was leading that last lap, and I was I was excited. Like whether it was Eli Matthew, I was just excited, and Matthew was kind of hanging on to the tail end of that pack the whole race, and Ryan Wolf was up there. I mean, it was a pack of them, like always with Junior Cup, and so they went out of my sight, and I didn't have a monitor or anything to watch. I was working the pit board, and I see Eli leading, and so they go out of my sight, and I don't see them again until they're coming down the hill. And I saw a Barcon bike coming down the hill, and I was like, yes, I was pumped. I was like, yeah, Eli. I thought it was Eli that came across start finish. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pumping my fist and everything. And then I realized it's Matthew. He had just passed Ryan Wolf going into the last turn, and I probably looked like a total idiot. I ran up and down pit lane probably like 10 times. And someone's like, hey, you need to get your stand and go over to the podium. I was like, I didn't know what to do. It was one of those things. I was so excited. And it was an amazing race. And then when I went back and watched it that night, I mean, I have to be honest with you, I teared up a little bit. He competed and he used strategy and he made decisions that he had to make very quick. Because when Ryan and him came down the back straight, Ryan broke out at the perfect time and he caught the perfect draft. And Matthew happened to be right behind Ryan. And then Matthew tried to pass Ryan, go underneath him. I think it's 10A. And Ryan shut the door on him. It was a good move by Ryan. I mean, there was nothing wrong with anything. And Ryan ran a little wide coming out 10B going underneath the bridge. And Matthew saw it open up and he put himself in a perfect position. And it was like who's going to be the biggest chicken, going on the brakes. Both of them were braking late. Both of them were side by side. Matthew just had position and was able to pull it off. Yeah, that was pretty exciting, knowing we just won the first race of Junior Cup. And really, I didn't expect it. And I was super excited. Sunday didn't go as well. We had some rain and it was just a weird day. But I think we finished 7th. But yeah, I mean, that was a good start. Eli, I think he was on the podium. I think he got 2nd in that race. So yeah, super exciting day. I mean, or a weekend between the two. I mean, we had 2 podiums. It was great.
Yeah, and I think Yandel Medea was up there with y'all too on the podium on one of
Yeah,
those races, from what I remember. Yeah.
yeah, Ryan. I mean, and yeah, I mean, we've known Yandel for a while too, and Ryan I mean, we met him this year when we were preparing for Road Atlanta, but they're from Maryland as well. So yeah,
Yep.
so like made a pretty good friendship. Need to eat over there too.
I love the wolves. Yeah, I was going to say I love the wolves. She feeds me all the time, bro. Every time I walk by, she's handing me food, and I'm like, I love you so much. Yeah, it's
yeah. So yeah, it's just the family that started, and there was no. I mean, all these guys are competing against each other, but as soon as they got off their bikes, everyone's hanging out, talking. Everyone's friendly. I don't know of anyone like I can't think of anyone that we didn't get along with or any. It was good. Like it was a great season. Yeah. So then we went into what was the next round? We ended up going to Barber, and Barber went pretty well. We were in the front pack. We just we didn't get on the box. He was right there. It just didn't work out for us. Yandel got a win down there. That was pretty cool to see. Yeah, but we finished the races, got some points, and moved on. And then, I'm not going to go over every weekend, but yeah, and then we got I will talk about Road America. I mean, we got the double win there. That was his first double win. And that was when my wife and I looked at each other. I think we said at the same time, Jody and I were like, whose kid is this? Like we were shocked. And Eli in the rain, he ended up in 2nd because of the craziness that happened at the end. But yeah, Matthew won, Eli got 2nd, and that was Ella got 3rd, right? I think Ella got 3rd. Yeah, that was awesome. And yeah, so then we ended up winning in the dry too, and it was that was a great weekend. We learned a lot, and then we went to Brainerd. We got a 1st and a 2nd there. That's when the Drayers were both on the podium with us. That was cool. That was awesome. A great experience.
Yes, it was.
And I'm glad their father got to see that. That was just really awesome, and known those guys forever.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
on
because
that
they were
front.
South Florida mini GP people. So
Yeah.
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 So then we went. Went to Mid Ohio. We went to a Weir Vintage weekend. There were about 100,000 people there. It was like absolute craziness. Didn't know that was going to happen. We didn't know what to expect. We were just going up there to practice, and there were people everywhere. Like we had a shoehorn our toy hauler in the middle of like. I had to do like this perfect parking job to squeeze in there. We were so squeezed in it we could barely open the doors. But yeah, so that was a good weekend. We practiced there, and Matthew really liked Mid Ohio. He loved Mid Ohio. Like I entered him some of the Twins races on the 400, and he was competing at that. I think he won one and got second in another. But yeah, he was battling with the Twins up there, and I was like, wow, like his lap times. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really know what a good lap time was there, but I know that he was running up front and he really liked the track. So when we went back, he was really excited because he knew he could clinch the championship there. However, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect the double win week. I really didn't. I just wanted him to go out and compete and Yandel, he was he was riding well too. He had a good weekend up there too. But that was Matthew's first time he's qualified P1 all year long, and I mean he was almost a second ahead of second place, and he checked out in race one, which I was surprised because really no one really checks out in Junior Cup, and everyone's fast. I mean, there's a whole pack of people that want you, and so that was an awesome weekend, and really we caught Moto America by surprise too because I don't think they expected us to pull it off that weekend either. But yeah, that was a good time, and Mike Skronik was there helping us from Triple Strong, and that was our first week, and we had him for the whole weekend. And he's got a million things going on at home too, and he's got a little one as well. But I tell you, the guy, he's like a miracle worker with motorcycles. It's like my stress level was way down when he showed up because he's got a good connection with Matthew too. Because I remember Matthew came in during qualifying, and he looked all sweaty, and Mike's like, "Why are you sweaty? You're in good shape. You're an athlete. Why are you sweaty?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'm just working hard out there." And he goes, "You're working too hard." Mike made a couple clicks. Matthew went back out, and he dropped a second. And I remember Mike said something to Matthew. He said, "Do you trust me?" And Matthew's like, he's like, "Do you trust me?" And Matthew goes, "Yes, I trust you, Mike." He goes, "Good. I'm going to make you faster." And he did. He again, confidence. He told Matthew things like this. He said, "Matthew, if the bike feels okay to you, then how come you're not breaking the lap record? If the bike feels okay to you, how come you're not, in first place?" He would always say stuff like that. The bike can't be just okay. It needs to be perfect. And I can tell you, like, we hit it on setup pretty good all year long. We got lucky with that. And I mean, we did our homework, but and again, Kevin helped us out with that kind of stuff too, Kevin Rodeo. So we were prepared every weekend, and we made sure our bike was running right, and we weren't going to deal with DNS because of a mechanical issue. We made sure we were ready to go. When that bike came off the trailer every weekend, it was ready to race. So, I mean, that's pretty much how it went. New Jersey was just awesome. It was great. That race one, Matthew jumped the start, and he didn't know about it. I was trying to signal it in. I kept telling him, like, you're 5 seconds behind, 6 seconds behind, things like that. I'm giving him -5 and 6. But then when I watched the race on Motor America Live, he kept looking back to see where the people were because he's like, "How am I behind if I'm with Avery?" He didn't know. He didn't know he had jumped the start, and he came across the line, up front, but he had no idea that he was in second place, which that's fine, and that's cool. I'm glad Avery won that race. I was good with it, and we moved on, and then the second race, Matthew was like, he knew he could do it, but they put together Avery, Eli, and Ella, and Matthew. They ran some ridiculous times in that race. They were in the 29s most of that race. That is fast at New Jersey. I've ridden New Jersey. That's a fast lap on a 400. That's a fast lap on a 600, but that's a fast lap. And they were consistently battling it out. And Matthew got him at the end, but that finish was incredible for second place. the three of them coming through, and they're all close. They're not just close on the track, but they're close off the track. It was just a cool ending. Of course, I would want Eli to be somewhere on the podium. Of course, yeah, that's our teammate. But I was happy for all of them because they all got to compete and they were all super fast. And Eli qualified P1. And that was awesome for him too. And really, I think he was praying for rain because like the year before, I mean, he dominated in the
Yes,
rain
he
there.
did.
And every weekend he's like, I hope it rains. I'm like, I know, I don't like the rain, because I just don't like cleaning the bike, honestly, and, and doing all that stuff. And so it was an awesome year. And honestly, like Eli talking to us about like, hey, we should do something. Maybe we all go BarCon and race. And let me talk to Colin and like the conversations and meeting all these new people. And I mean, really, Eric helped us a lot. Um, it was just a great season. It couldn't have gone any better. It was like, it was like a dream season. And really, we had been watching Junior Cup for years, and like that was my favorite racing. I mean, I like all kind of racing, but Junior Cup, just watching these young guys out there just battling it out and just giving it all they have. I've always watched Junior Cup, and it was cool, like knowing, Gus was out there and Joe was out there, and just knowing people that were racing and watching it, at home, and even going to watch them when they were at New Jersey. But then seeing your kid out there and competing and now winning the championship, it was like a dream. I mean, honestly, I didn't. I only know what to think. I still haven't really processed the whole thing yet, but yeah, it's been a great season, and just so much fun, and just the family at the track is awesome.
Yeah, listen, you guys had a proper mega season, and I've said this before. Congratulations! It's absolutely amazing what you guys achieved and did, and I'm so proud of you, the whole Barcon team, Eli, of course, your son Matt. It's it takes a village to raise a racer, right? Everything's got to come together and play its own small, because it's a small role. But all come together. It's kind of like forming Voltron, right? Everybody comes together, and boom. Next thing you know, you got a champion standing in front of you, man. And I'm so pumped for you guys. I was screaming, hooping, and hollering. My throat was actually going sore and sour, and I couldn't talk hardly after so much screaming. It was I love seeing my friends achieve their goals. It's one of my things that gives me the most satisfaction in life is watching them. And dude, Junior Cup is my favorite. I've said it a million times. It's the racing is so good. It's not just the racing, it's the emotions that the kids and the moms and the dads and the grandmas and the grandpas and the friends and everybody on the team that feels it's true love and true energy versus somebody that's done it a million times where they just, I just like to thank my team. The bike was good, good racing guys, blah, blah, blah. See you next time, right? When the kids do it, when they win, it screams, it's everybody's just ballistic. When they lose, it's sobs and true crying, right? And that's the emotion of the sport that I love is seeing that. It's absolutely Junior Cups. Thebomb.com, right? But unfortunately, we don't have no more Junior Cup no more. Now it's going to be the Talent Cup next year, right? So we'll get into 2025 here in a second. Your thoughts, Phil, personally, on the way that they're getting rid of the Junior Cup and replacing it with the Talent Cup. What are your thoughts on that?
So I have mixed emotions with that, especially since we just won the championship in Junior Cup. Because there's a lot of good bikes out there right now. You got the new Ninja 500. Aprilia's got the 457.
Yeah.
CF Moto's got a bike out there. There's a lot of bikes that really could have made this series the R3 still around too, but make the Junior Cup still a very fun thing to watch, and not just Ninja 400s or Ninja 500s now. But I think the Junior Cup was a very good entry level into pro racing series. We really look forward to getting into it. So my feeling is I think the Talent Cup's going to be great. I think the racing's still going to be super competitive. I think a lot of people are a little nervous about the price of the bikes. But I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not against it. I think it's going to be a great thing. I think it can be as good as Junior Cup. That my only negative thought about it is this: with the entry level bikes like the Ninja 400 and all the other bikes I just mentioned, these are bikes that people buy off the showroom floor, and now they're getting to watch them be raced, and that can inspire people to buy the bike, but also it can inspire people to want to get out there on the track. Whereas I think having a race only machine really kind of narrows it down to where you have to be a racer to get this thing and move on. But you really don't. But I think it takes away that, because you're talking about these entry level bikes that are less than $10,000 to buy, and you can build one, fairly cheap. I think that you take away that, and I think you lose that part of the motorcycle industry. However, I think that bike, I've looked at them. I've looked at that Kramer. That Kramer's a nice bike.
Yeah.
It is it like you would say, it's a proper race machine. It really is. It's a nice bike. Now, I don't know if we're going to go down that route. We're looking at a couple of different things this year. We're looking at maybe going to Twins. We got to ride the Hammer bike down there at Coda, and I think Matthew did really well on that bike. He liked it. That Suzuki went pretty good. It took us a little while to get it dialed in because he's so light, and Rossi was riding the other one, and Rossi Moore is bigger than Matthew, so it took us a little while to get it dialed in. We were close on Sunday. I think we had a little bit more work to do, but yeah, he rode pretty well. He got fourth and fifth down there at Coda, and it again shocked me, but that Chris Ulrich, treated us like gold. John Ulrich, great people. I can't say enough about them. They really treated us well. We're looking at a couple other options to it. We don't know where we're going to be yet. We're talking to a bunch of different teams. There's been some talk with BSB teams, maybe doing the Ninja 400 RRs. That's one of the things we've been talking about. And yeah, there's a couple other conversations going on I can't get into right now, but yeah, we're talking to some teams and different manufacturers and see what we're going to do. But we definitely, honestly, our goal is to win a championship, no matter who we're with. I think the kid has the confidence to do it. We have a good plan. He's a good kid. He gets it. He's respectful to everybody, and I think that we're going to try to win another championship no matter where we are. That's where it comes down to, and that's our goal. Like, our goal is not to finish second. And same thing when we went down to Coda, we didn't know what to expect. We're like, hey, just finish the race, and next thing you know, this kid's running crazy times on Sunday, and I was like, it was shocking on a bike that he really had never seen before. But yeah, it was a great opportunity to ride down there. M4 treated us like a family. But Team Hammer, they treated us like family. And getting to know that team was pretty cool. The crew chief, Brian, great guy. He treated us great too. I can't say enough about it. That was a great experience. And it was like seeing that next step, and it was really cool because we didn't know where we were. Like, we didn't know if we were ready for that step. And I think he showed that he can ride at that level and jump right into the Twins and be ready to go. And the bikes are a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, a little bit harder to move around. Yeah, he was a little sore, Monday, but yeah, I think he's ready for the next step.
Yeah, absolutely he is. And you're right. M4, Team Hammer, nothing but amazing people. All the mechanics, and Brian, is his last name Robertson?
Yes.
Yeah, I know Brian. Yeah, he's Brian's an awesome guy. I actually met him at Jersey at a hotel, because I stayed at that same hotel that all the riders stay at. So I haggle everybody when they come in. They see me, they're like, oh shit, here he goes, right? No, I'm just playing. It's always good to see everybody. But yeah, Brian's awesome for sure. Man, I can't wait, man. I have mixed feelings on the Talent Cup too. But before I give you my feelings on it, that dude, you said what I wanted to hear. BSB, bro. I think it would be absolutely amazing for us as Americans to have somebody over there overseas in BSB in another production based series. Matt would do absolutely amazing job over there. I got a bunch of mates over there already, so I can, if that's the route you guys go, I got numbers I can give you and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's BSB. Everybody knows it's my favorite race organization out of every race organization. It's not because I think they're better than everybody else, Philip. It's one simple fact: Their super bikes have hardly no electronics on it, so it's old school, proper way of racing. This is your traction control, your right foot or your thumb brakes, your anti-wheelie, climbing all up over the front, trying to keep it down as you're trying to accelerate at the same time. Dude, I know the game, right? Those are the bikes we grew up on and raced, right? And
Yeah.
did track days on. So to me, man, I love seeing that, you know, because you still get the proper slides and the front sliding with the rear, unlike a lot of the other, you know, bikes with all these NASA electronics on it. You know, they just basically go, and then electronics does its thing, you know, which is
Exactly.
fine. But yeah, yeah. The Talent Cup, man, I'm so conflicted on it. I think Moto America really needs to decide whether we still want to do production racing, which we've always been, or give a true path to get a chance to go over its seas. I would love to see him, along with the Talent Cup, have other GP inspired chassis throughout Moto America so that they go from a Talent Cup. Let's say they win. Yeah, they get to go over there to try out for Red Bull, whatever it is. Let's say, unfortunately, they don't make it, they come back. What's the next step? Now you're back on a production bike. Versus if you had a series that followed a GP chassis series and hopefully got more recognition and more people watching and give kids the options growing up on them to get to like a whatever 600 or a 750, whatever they decide to build, whatever the next step is, and keep the production series, right? Which would be difficult to do. I just that in the cost to me, like I get it, proper 400s, you know, you're gonna have about 20 grand into. I get it, right? But to me, I feel like if we're gonna have an entry level series, we need to have a real cheap entry level series where your average families can afford to go out and buy two 400s, salvage title 400s, $1,500. You know, you got 3 grand, whatever, 4 grand and two bikes. There's your spare bike or three, whatever, right? Let's say you got $20,000 in the program of your bike, and that's the spares and everything. Versus the Kramer's, what, 23.5 or whatever it is, and that's just for one bike, and that's no spares, right? So you got to have two bikes.
Right.
So you're looking at 70 grand off the jump with all your spares and your spare wheels and all this stuff that goes along with it. To me, that's the part about it that I don't like. The bike is absolutely a proper mega race kit, dude. I said it, you said it, right? I seen it in that
Yeah.
jersey and I was like, yeah, absolutely. This is a very, very nice bike. But yeah, I just see that at this point in Moto America's kind of conflicted on that side. Which I get the direction that they want to take, but I feel like if they're going to follow that path too, they need to have another step up from that Kramer bike to go to the next level, right? And then go to the next level. And if they want to do the production bike, they can follow that path too as well. How they
Yeah.
do that, I'm really not too sure, but
I
that's
think
just
I think they should have maybe kept the production bike, like the junior cup, and bring in the talent cup, which would have been fine. But I think maybe they were worried about having the kids split, or maybe I mean, there was no conversation on what we thought about it until after it was already introduced.
yeah,
We didn't talk about it. I wasn't asked, and it would have been nice to have a little bit of input on what we thought, especially since we came from a talent cup. I mean, that's where we came from. I mean, we did a talent cup, and when that guy canceled, I mean, we ended up having to absorb the cost of that whole bike and all the spares and things like that. I mean, I sold that bike, but I didn't sell it for very much. I had a lot more in it than what I sold it for. And yeah, so again, I'm totally not against the talent cup. I think it's a great idea. I think that the price point that you brought up, I think that's a very, you know, it's a concern. It's, but I also think like there's places in club racing also for these 400s and 500s that it's really a good start anyway, and then maybe do the 400s and the 500s with your kids, and then bring them into the talent cup so when they're ready and they've had racing experience. Because yeah, I mean, there's gonna be some fast kids. I know a few kids that are doing it, and they're gonna be fast, and it's gonna be a good series. The only other thing I don't like about the talent cup, and I'm gonna be honest about it, I haven't heard a mention of contingency or any kind of purse. I mean, this is professional racing. You can't afford to spend, like you said, $70,000 and then win nothing out of it. I mean, that's just not good business for us. And I'm not saying we're getting rich doing this, but there has to be some kind of financial reward for doing well. I mean, Kawasaki, they had good contingency. I mean, there's no hiding it. I mean, it was $2,500 a win, and that does help offset some of these costs. And you got to have something to offset it. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. It's business as well.
110%, right? Especially when the tire deal to me is a whole nother subject that I wish they would change within Moto America, right? I get it. But if you're going to have a series on a spec tire and then charge, I mean, dude, they're not cheap. They're definitely not cheap, right? Where I think it would be good if they, Spencer, Spencer says Vanilla Gorilla.
That's a story too.
Wow, dude, well, we got to hear this story. Forget the tire spec. What?
Yeah. So I bought some leathers back not years ago, but at Laguna Seca, and they were already made. They were like pre-made. And, I'm kind of short and stocky, so I went in, tried these leathers on. Someone was selling them. One of the vendors were selling them. During one of the Moto America rounds, and I was there as a spectator. And so I bought these leathers, and they fit pretty good, but they said Vanilla Gorilla on them. So everyone thought that was my nickname going into Mini GP, so yeah. Thanks, Spencer.
That's going to be the name of this episode, Vanilla Gorilla. Dude, that's awesome. I love that. Thanks, Spencer, for that story. Yeah, dude, that's good stuff, man. Absolutely good
I
stuff.
still have them, by the way.
Dude, bro. Oh, I gotta say, are you guys going to the Heron compound next weekend?
Now we're gonna go to Daytona the weekend after. We're gonna ride that Team Hammer bike again and do the Race of Champions with Azra. Just go down there and learn the track. He's never ridden Daytona, so I want him to ride it because that's going to be the first round for Moto America Twins next year. And so yeah, it's a good opportunity for him to go down there. Now we're probably not going to get down to Heron Compound at some point. I got to stay home. I think my dog forgot who I was. Like, we haven't been home very much. We've been traveling the country.
He said my
When your dog
forgot
barks
who I
at you
was.
when you walk in, that's not good,
Right. You're like, Sparky, it's me. What are you talking about? Yeah, so I'm an animal lover too. She's usually in here with me, but her lazy butt decided to stay out there in the other living room. But
Yeah.
I got a pit bull named Charlie. She's like Moses, right? She's old and
Yeah,
still
we
got a
have an
lot of
American
life left into her.
bulldog, and she's just a lazy thing that just lays around, but super loyal. And I mean, we don't have to put her on a leash; she'll just walk with us and hang out with us. We bring her to the track every once in a while. We don't. She doesn't come to Moto America weekends because they're too busy. But we'll bring her some club rounds and track days and things like that. She loves riding in the truck,
Yeah, my dog absolutely loves riding in the truck, but there's two things she does not like is loud noises and rain. Bro, if it starts to rain, you smell the rain, she's back in the bedroom in the corner just like shivering and shaking. I'm like, what are you doing? Right? It's okay, but that's just who she is, right? It's but she's like that. I could open the door, we could walk out. She won't stray too far from me. She always listens and comes back. It takes an act of God to get her out of the car once you get her in the car, so much so to where you can literally bring her a piece of cooked steak right off the grill. And she'll sniff it and she'll look at you and she'll lay right back down in the seat like, nah, I ain't falling for that. So dude, it's crazy. Like, I got to chase her out of the car, right? So I shut this door, open this door. She runs to the other side, then open both doors, and she gets in the back. It's like, what are we doing here, right? But yeah, it's dogs are great. I love them. Absolutely, bro. So we've been on this for over an hour already. Absolutely a mega proper good time. I want to get away from all the motorcycle talk. I want to get to know Phil as not a racer dad, as a regular guy like everybody is. This is my favorite part of the interview. I definitely want to have you back on for a part two because there's still so much more in that story that you told that I would like to dig a deeper dive into. But if we did that today, we'd be on here for about 4 hours. And I got another podcast at 5 today, so we can't do that today. But we definitely will do a part two. So with that being said, tell us something we don't know about you, Phil.
I was a police officer for 30 years. I just retired August 1st. And so I spent my last 10 years as a motorcycle officer, and I was the training supervisor for Montgomery County Police Department in Maryland, and I ran all the training. And yeah, that's like the thing that I think a lot of people don't know about me. I mean, I'm not like RoboCop or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I was trying to figure out a way to get paid to ride motorcycles, and that's what I did. I ended up being a motorcycle police officer, and enjoyed it. It was a good job. And, got to know a lot of good people, got to work with the community. That's just it fit my personality. Like, I had a good time. Um, that I guess that's the only thing I really got going on. I got another job now. It's like just it's part time, just doing security at a synagogue, and make sure they're safe. I enjoy that too. They enjoy us being there, and yeah, I have about 6 people that work for me. So that's what I'm doing right now when I'm not traveling the country with my kid. But there's a lot more flexibility now. It was tough the last couple of years when we were trying to do a lot of racing, and I'm trying to run a unit and do training and things like that. It was really tough to try to like juggle everything. But yeah, I mean that's what I did for the last 30 years.
He said, "I ain't no RoboCop." I love that. That should be a T-shirt. I ain't no RoboCop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. Are you a coffee drinker?
Yeah, I'm a coffee drinker. My wife is more than I am, but yeah, we drink quite a bit of coffee. We actually got a sponsor that gives us coffee for, as helping us out. Savage Viking, that they make some really good coffee. But yeah, they give us coffee, and yeah, pretty cool shirts and sweatshirts. You'll see us wearing the stuff. We have stickers on the side of our bike too. But yeah, they load us up with coffee every weekend, so we're all caffeined up. That's why we're 100 miles an hour.
I love it, dude. I love it. I'm a coffee drinker too. I like it hot and cold, depending on my mood, right? Because I do like my
Same here.
cold coffee for sure, 100%. So let me ask you this, Phil. What's your worst habit?
I think I'm very particular with everything. Like, I think my worst habit is like, I, we touched into it a little bit. Like, I'm meticulous. I have to have things perfect. Like, I like having the motorcycle perfect. I want my car clean. I'm a perfectionist. I've always been like that. I think it's the way I was raised, but I'm a perfectionist. I want things to be perfect. And sometimes, I have to step back and realize that, like, it always can't be perfect, but especially when the bike comes in after a rain race and it's just filthy dirty, and yeah,
I
just
gotta clean it. Shit.
I'm like, oh my God, I gotta put this. Oh yeah, don't even get me started. Road America, I was up all night. I took, I'll tell you something odd about that. We had water in our crankcase at Road America after race one. Yeah. So yeah, we were draining. We had to flush the oil out a couple of times, and again, like, one thing we did, we went and told the other teams we found it too, and a couple other teams found water in their oil as well. That was kind of concerning. I think it came in through. Well, I know where it came from. It came through the intake and ran down the breather into the top of the crankcase. But yeah, so that was kind of shocking. And the crazy thing is, because we were traveling, halfway across the country, I didn't bring enough oil. So same thing, we're borrowing oil from other teams so we can run the next day, and you know that's what I'm talking about. It's just, it's family out there. People take care of each other. I mean, we had I think we had a case, but we had to change Eli's and ours, and we just didn't have enough. And I know the next round when we went to Brainerd, Eli brought a case of oil back, and we had to repay people and make sure we had enough, because we left our stuff out at Brainerd after Road America. I actually drove out there and flew home. But yeah, so that was a little concerning. And me being a perfectionist, I can't have water in my oil. I don't think anybody wants that. But yeah, that was a little scary.
Well, good. I'm glad to no bearings were seized or harms in the making of the water, right? Because that could have very well easily happened for sure.
Oh yeah.
Um, dude, yeah, that's crazy. So everybody knows I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I don't read books so much because I fall asleep, but audiobooks I absolutely love. Listened to, if there's a motorcycle racer out there that has an audiobook, I've listened to it. I listen to other audiobooks too as well. Actually, right now I'm listening to Mark Webber, the retired F1
Hmm.
driver. Do you listen to any audiobooks or read?
I read a lot. I read more of information. Like, I like to read about suspension. Like, K-Tech gave me a book about suspension, and I use reading more for learning about things. Like, I'm very open minded about everything. Like, if say the news reports something, and I find it interesting, I'll do research on it, and really try to find out the truth. That
That's
I
me.
don't just listen to stuff. I have to educate myself on things like that. Yeah. So I think the reading I do is more about information as opposed to just reading like books about stories and things like that. I always want to learn something new. So yeah, that's how I do my that's the reading I do. Yeah.
I should have said anything but service manuals, right? Because yeah, we all read those, right? Yeah,
Right.
but suspension to me, it's like that's a whole nother game. That's a fine art by itself, right? Once you deep dive down into the suspension game, I'm like, holy shit, I had no idea. Like, I don't even know what this means.
Yeah.
Right? It's yeah,
Suspension can be tricky, you know, and you just have to don't get carried away with it. Don't do too many things at one time.
yeah.
Fix
Keep it
one problem
simple.
at a time.
Yeah,
Because if you try to do three or four at one time, you could mess everything up. And when we, you know, we were lucky. We found a good base setting and we were able to do a couple clicks here and there, change a spring here and there, but we really didn't do a lot of crazy things. We weren't ripping our suspension apart every week. And we just made sure everything was fresh and that Matthew was comfortable on it. And he was pretty good about feedback all year. I mean, you could tell like as the weekend went on, we got faster because he was giving us feedback. This is what I don't like. This is what I do like, and we were able to fine tune us. I mean, just in New Jersey, I mean, the times really dropped by Sunday, and we made a couple little changes overnight, and we're able to get him more comfortable on the bike. And really, that's the trick about suspension. It's not necessarily what works for you, Chris, or what works for me. It's about what works for the rider, that individual rider. Your setting might be totally different than mine because you ride different. And the one thing about Matthew, though, he doesn't upset the bike too much. His riding style. I think we touched it before in a conversation last weekend, but he's very smooth on the bike. He's very easy on the equipment, so it makes it a little bit easier for us to set him up.
yeah, that makes sense. You're right. Smooth is fast. We all know that, right? It is.
Yeah,
Absolutely. But I do have a book recommendation. If you ever listen to any audiobook, especially an autobiography on a road racer, is John Hopkins Leathered. That book blew my mind out of any motorcycle book I've ever read or listened to.
yeah.
He lays it all down on the line. He doesn't hang anything out there. It's 100% all in, and it was just a very amazing read. And I've recommended it to a bunch of people. It's a very good book. Do you listen to any podcasts at all? Are you a podcast listener? And if so, what podcast do you listen to?
Well, the only one I really listen to is yours. Uh, yeah, I've been following you for a while, and yeah, and well, I find yours very interesting because it's same thing. Like just like while we were watching Junior Cup because we knew people, like knowing you, I enjoy watching your podcast. I enjoy like the questions you ask and the people you get on. Yeah, so that's really the podcast I really watch. I don't watch much TV though. The only TV I really watch is road racing. Like I'm just not a TV person. I'm more of a handsy person. Like I'm either tinkering with the motorcycle, a truck, or just working a lot. You know, and I like to travel. I mean, I guess the other thing, going back to what something about me, like I'm really adventurous. I do a ski in the wintertime. Like that's been my passion forever. My mom introduced me to it when I was a little guy, like when Matthew was tiny as well, like 3 or 4. Matthew's a big time snowboarder and skier as well. But I do a trip with all my friends every year, and we go to someplace different every year. This year we're going to go out to Spokane, Washington, and drive up into Canada and do the Powder Highway and try to hit a bunch of resorts. And like we're going to hit 8 resorts in 8 days. That's
Nice.
kind of like my passion. I enjoy being outside and doing something physical. Like I'm not somebody that can just sit around on the couch all day. I'm always doing something.
That's me. I get antsy. If I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna play the PlayStation. I'm 30 minutes into it. I'm like, okay, I gotta get up off this couch and go do something. I feel like my day's incomplete. And if I don't, it's very rare that I don't do anything at all because I'm so go, 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 so busy, right?
Right.
It's hard for me to sit still for a long period of time unless I'm watching road racing, right? That's one thing I could stick glued to the TV and
Yeah.
just be totally hyper focused on it. Same thing with, podcasts, anything than that. It's hard for me to, of course, Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars nerd. Everybody knows that. Dude, I got a lightsaber right here. My son probably took the batteries out of it. And he did. Otherwise, I'd have turned it on. Yeah, yeah. So me and my son, we do watch a lot of Star Wars together. We watch all the episodes and stuff. We do a family night. So I'm real big
That's
into
cool.
family. So every night I might get off the PlayStation. It's family night. Let's go out here and we take an hour, maybe hour and a half, and just sit on the couch and cell phones off, put them on the table, and yeah, spend time together, right? Because it's so hard and it's busy days, especially now. It's not like it was when we were growing up. We didn't have none of this shit, none of it, right? Well, we had a couple consoles, Nintendo or whatever, but I'm an outside kid. I never stayed inside. I don't care if it was raining, snowing, sleeting. It didn't matter to me. Let's go, right? There's something we can get into, some type of trouble we can get into and get yelled at for, right? But yeah, now it's like everybody's inside all the time and don't want to go out and go do nothing. I have to do something. I got to. If not, again, it just drives me crazy. But yeah, I feel you. What's for dinner tonight, bro?
I don't know. Like, I haven't talked about it yet. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. Jody, I'm sure is up there doing something. I don't know, but I don't know. We eat a lot of venison, so I'm not a big red meat eater, and like we don't go out to eat a whole lot unless we're on the road. But yeah, I mean, I think my two favorite foods is venison and sushi. Like, and Matthew's kind of the same way. He loves sushi. I mean, he's been eating sushi since he was like 4. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but yeah, I had him. He's going to go eat sushi. I mean, it's just that's our thing, you know. But yeah,
No, dude, I love sushi. I love seafood. I love hot and spicy food. Everybody knows that. I love very spicy food. My son, that's what we did when he was little. I'm like, I gotta give him a piece of shrimp or something, make sure he's not allergic to the shit, right? And yeah, so since then he loves seafood. He loves his favorite fish is mahi mahi, just like his daddy. So yeah. I'm a cook. I like to cook a lot. I get that from my mom. So I'm always making homemade salad dressings or dude, sometimes I just throw shit together off the top of my head. Oh, this sounds good. This will be good in it. You know, let's do this and do that. Or my wife, she's plain Jane, right? So I'll make shit. She's like, I ain't eating that. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just make you macaroni and cheese in or whatever, right? But this is what I'm gonna eat. So
yeah, I'm
yeah.
like I make breakfast every morning for everyone. That's my thing. Like I can make eggs 28 different ways. I like making breakfast. That's kind of like I'm known for making breakfast. Like yeah, I mean, and I can eat some eggs. Like don't get me wrong. I wish we had chickens, honestly. But yeah, I could eat eggs for every meal. I've always been like that.
I like eggs. I could eat eggs on a lot of things too. I mean, it goes well with a lot of things. Burgers, I mean,
Yeah,
soup. You put eggs in soup. You can put it on sandwiches. I mean, dude, there's so many things. I'm an egg person too. I like eggs. For sure. It's yeah, man. So yeah, you're gonna have to cook me some breakfast sometimes. I'm gonna have to try out this breakfast you got going on.
oh yeah, I'll do that next time we're at the track together.
Yeah, absolutely. I like biscuits and gravy. I remember when I went over to the UK, I was telling my UK friend, I mean, you guys don't have biscuits and gravy. They're like, what's that? I was like, dude, it's super simple. This is all you need right here. And yeah, you guys are welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, for real. You guys are welcome. Do you have any tattoos?
no, not a one. Being what I was doing for a living, before I was a motorcycle officer, I worked undercover for the police department and really didn't want any identifiers
Yeah,
um, on my body. But yeah, I mean, I'm not against tattoos. I just don't have any.
yeah,
That for obvious reasons, because like I said, for work, I didn't want to have any. But
yeah.
yeah,
No, I don't blame you. Are you a beer or a wine guy or a whiskey guy?
you know what? Honestly, I'm a vodka and seltzer guy. So like that's my wife would just make those every once in a while, like in the evenings. But yeah, after the last weekend and celebrate Matthew's championship, I'm probably a nothing guy for a while.
I bet, Phil. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guarantee that. Yeah, I'm like you. I like the clear. If I'm gonna drink liquor or make mixed drinks, it's gotta be clear. Anything dark just devastates me the next day. Just not my body just don't handle it too well, right? And so when I went on this weight loss, because I used to weigh 270 pounds, I was on a 40 waist. I'm in a 34 now. Um, I changed it by obviously my diet and but what really did the trick for me, because it don't work for everybody's different, right? One diet might work for another person, yada yada yada. I listened to what my body was telling me when I was eating stuff, meaning that if I ate something and my nose was stuffy, then there was something in there that my body has this reaction to. The trick is finding out what that is, right? So you kind of look at the ingredients, break it down, say, I don't eat that very much, or stuff like that, right? That's what really helped me shed the weight was listening to what my body was telling me as I'm eating it. So yeah, it's
that's pretty smart actually. I never really thought about it that way. I'm so yeah. I mean, I can put on weight real quick too, but if I don't watch what I eat. So I eat pretty good. And I try to exercise every day, do something like whether I walk, whether I'm like I used to do a lot of spin, spin bikes, and then I used to run a lot, but I ended up hurting my back at work and I haven't been able to run like I used to. But I used to be a pretty avid runner as well. But I try to stay in shape, just try to stay healthy, really. But yeah,
Yeah, me too. I want to be here for as long as my kid as I can. 110%. It's hard to explain to people that don't have kids. I'm like, man, as soon as I had my son, of course, it was different when your wife tells you she's pregnant. And then when they finally get here and you cut the umbilical cord, it's like this certain switch turns on the inside of you that you never knew you even have, right? Until this human comes into existence. And dude, we've been two peas in a pod ever since. Like, I put it to you this way: if I go somewhere and kids aren't allowed, I just don't go. They're like, oh, dude, get a babysitter, take them to my friend's house, let them play with their kids. I'm like, no. If Rossi can't go, I'm not going. That's just how it is, right? Now that's a fact, right? You guys can come over here because my kid's here, but yeah, I like to spend as much time with my son, genuine time, because at the end of the day, that's all we got, right? I want to
yeah,
leave that memory.
that's most important.
And that's the main reason why I do this podcast. I mean, that's the number one reason is one day when I'm not here no more, he can always go back and listen to his dad do what he loves to do and give back to the sport that's given me so much, right? And helping out the future legends of our sport and getting people like my friends on like you and telling the story of, raising a champion and how people can get into the sport too as well. That's my way of giving back. But yeah, it's number one is from my boy Rossi. I named him Rossi after Nicky Hayden and Valentino, right? So yeah, I've been all into motorcycles since I've like 4 years old. I grew up in the Navy. My dad was a fighter pilot in the military, so he used to take me riding all the time. That's where my infatuation. That's my first true love you follow with this two wheels, right? And I explain it to my friends. They're like girlfriends. Every single motorcycle you own is a different woman. They're beautiful in their own way. They like to be touched in a certain way. They like to be ridden in a certain way. It's just different, right? They have their own unique personality, which is crazy to say about a machine, but that's a fact.
They do. Every bike's different.
110%. 110%. So let me ask you this. If you can invite any three people to your own private track day, Phil, any three in the world, dead or alive, movie stars, GP guys, whoever, what three people you going to bring to your track day?
Well, I think the first one would be Matthew. Just like you, I enjoy being around my son. And I'll never forget the day he passed me in mini GP. And he really, he's been up in front of me ever since then. And really, that was when I hung up my leathers. That would be, I guess, number one. Second one would be my buddy Chuck, who helps us in the pits. Chuck has been there since, I met him in high school. We've been friends, and he's been there since day one when Matthew started racing. And he comes to every race, volunteers his time, takes his leave to come help. But I would definitely want Chuck there, especially if it's going to be free, because I want to take care of my people. Wow, the third one's tough because there's just so many people that mean a lot to me and mean a lot to us as individuals. Man, that's a tough one. I think the third person that I'd want to be there would be like, wow, I don't want to leave anyone out. I feel kind of bad, but yeah, I don't know. I think
just say everybody. It's cool. It's an
I mean,
acceptable answer.
well, if I could bring somebody back, it would be Nicky Hayden. He was such an inspiration to everybody in the racing, and I was when I got my vanilla gorilla leathers. Nicky Hayden raced that weekend, and I got to see one of his final races. It was Racing World Superbike at the time, and we were out there that weekend. And I actually have a funny story because when I was racing, Nicky Hayden and his two brothers, they all came up to Nelson Ledges one weekend. And I'm like, who are these little knuckleheads on RS 125s? Like, look at these little knuckleheads. They're kind of fast, And I'm out there. I think I was probably like on a CBR 600 or something, And I thought I was fast until those little knuckleheads went flying around me, like, bing, just buzzing around. And, just seeing the Haydens out there and seeing what they became over the years and how they're still involved in racing. I mean, Roger interviewed Matthew last weekend,
Yeah.
but seeing those guys like all the way through their careers and now like Matthew's going into his and just that's the good American family, and I think that's the family of racers that everyone wants to be like. So to have Nikki Hayden out there one last time, I mean, that would mean the world to me because, like, when he lost his life, it was like almost like something shut off for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And I always respected him, and he was always like a genuine, human, like very approachable, just a nice guy. And really, if I wanted Matthew to be like somebody, it would be Nikki Hayden.
Totally 100% agree with everything you just said. It was when Hayden passed away, I think for many of us Americans, that was absolutely the end of an era for us Americans. It's yeah, I agree. Again, since I named my son, after him too as well. I've always been, and every time I met him and his dad and his mom, and yeah, he's a proper mega legend of all legends for sure. So yeah, Hayden would be a absolute good answer, bro. Good answer. So let me ask you this: then, if you could have one track and you had your own private island, what racetrack would it be?
Proud. Well, I could answer that with one, Phillip Island. Not because that's my name, but I've always wanted to go to Australia. Like I think, and that's watching that track, and I've only seen it on TV. It just looks incredible. And yeah, if I could have that as my private island, I definitely invite all my friends over to go ride that thing. That's awesome track. If I had an American track that I had to choose, I've always liked VIR. I raced there. I'm glad Moto America's going back there. I actually we rode VIR this year. I took Matthew down there for a track day, and just so he could see it. I want him to experience it. And by chance, it got on the schedule. I was like, yes, it's about 4 hours from our house. VIR is just it's a cool layout. It's like riding 3 different tracks in one. The facilities are so nice. It's a beautiful area. But yeah, that's probably my favorite track, and that is my favorite track in the United States. I want to say probably that is my favorite track in the United States.
I love it, dude. VR is like an hour and 40 minutes from my house. It's my home track, and I absolutely love it. I tell everybody, do VR, go do track day VR. You'll love it.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah, well, dude, next time you guys go to VR, call me, bro. You got my number. Say, hey, we're coming to VR for the weekend. I'll freaking drive down and meet you guys. Yeah, we'll hang out for the weekend. It'll be a lot of fun for sure. Maybe you guys got a grill down there. I'll cook you guys some dinner.
Definitely, I'll make you breakfast.
Okay, there we go. we have it planned out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: what is your all-time favorite meal, Phil?
Well, we're right along the Chesapeake Bay, so anything seafood. But I'll tell you what, if I could have sushi, blue crabs, maybe some lobster tail, that's my favorite meal. I love seafood.
Me too, man. It's good stuff. Absolutely. I love seafood too. The only thing I'm not real big on is scallops for some reason. It's like a hit or a miss with me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. I just ain't feeling them right. But I eat oysters. My wife looks at me, she's like, I can't believe you're eating that shit. And I'm the guy, I'm just Tabasco, lemon right out the shell. That's so good. You should try it. She's like, oh no, you're gonna make me throw up. Yeah. So.
I can't eat mussels. It's something and it gets me sick. Like I like the taste of them, but they mess my stomach up.
That's again, remember when I said you gotta listen to what your body's telling you? That's absolutely so. Yeah, 110%. Celebrity crush, Phil. Everybody's got one. Who is your celebrity crush?
Wow. I don't want to get in trouble.
You're not gonna get in trouble, man. Okay, childhood celebrity crush. We'll put it that way.
I don't know. I mean, I always thought Nicole Kidman was beautiful. I mean, that's one. I mean, I could give you probably a list of 20. But yeah,
all of us men could, right? You're like, where you want me to start at?
yeah. I don't know. I don't. I really don't. I've never really like followed anyone that much, like that. But yeah, I mean, and honestly, we don't even watch movies that much. Like we just don't. My wife's not a movie person. And really, we don't have time to sit down for 2.5, 3 hours. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. One of them was Wendy from the Wonder Years,
yeah,
right?
the
Growing up.
Wonder.
Yeah. See, I see you laughed at that because boom, there you go. Right. That's one right there. You're like, man, Wendy got it going on, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's hilarious. Oh, so let me ask you this, Phil. What advice would you give your younger self?
just follow your dreams. Like if and be passionate about everything you do, and give your heart and soul to everything you do, because you're only here once. And number one thing is be a good person. Be someone that people want to be around. Be trustworthy. I mean, I try to live by all those things, but as humans, we make mistakes throughout life, and we could do things better. But just be the best person you can be.
No, absolutely 100%. That's why I tell everybody, listen, out of every day, stop what you're doing for a moment, whether it's 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, enjoy the moment, right? Because these moments you can't stop, you can't pause, you can't fast forward. Time is such a thief, right? So you got to really enjoy every day that you live because tomorrow's not promised. Shit, today before dinner, it's not promised, right? So, uh, first and foremost, in order for you to love everybody else, you got to love yourself. Okay. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't show love to anybody else. Um, Second thing I tell everybody is none of us are strangers. We're just friends that haven't met yet. And I firmly believe that, right? And yes, I get it. Not everybody's energy is going to match. Not everybody's going to get along. But the person that your energies don't match, I guarantee there's at least 4 or 5 things that you guys have in common that you guys can spark up a conversation. And then all that other negative stuff, the energies don't match, they will start to match. Right.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's something I tell people every day, man, and it's hard for us humans because it's part of our nature. We want to be in control of everything. And it's hard to give up, not be able to control the uncontrollable, right? So instead of that, focus on what you can control and make everybody around you happy. Always put out that positive energy, always smile, always laugh, and give out hugs. That's why I'm a big hugger.
yeah,
You barely ever see me do high fives. I'm like, nah, baby, bring it on in. I'm a hugger, right? It's that human emotion and that feeling is a lot more different and more powerful than just a high five.
yep. And
So,
number one thing, don't judge people based on other people's opinions. I'm always open minded until you cross me. I'll never judge you unless I need to establish my own opinion. I don't want to listen to somebody else's opinion about somebody. I want to learn about you, and I want to give you a chance to make a good impression on me. And I think that's important. I think everyone needs to understand that too. You can't just assume somebody else feels the same way that you're going to feel about somebody.
no, 110%. That's great advice. Absolutely. It's never judge a book by its cover. My mom would said it to me all the time. And one thing, dude, my dad always used to say, and I hated it growing up. My dad would ask me a question, Phil, right? And I'd be like, I don't know. He said, well, if you did know, what would it be? And I'm like, really, Dad? He's like, yeah, use that brain, think, right? This is when you need to think and trying to get you to think. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I say that to my son. My son says, he looks at me, he's like, really, Dad? I'm like, yeah, bro, really, really, right? So yeah, absolutely awesome, man. So let me ask you this: what is your spirit animal?
I think I think a wolf,
I like it.
um, because they're pack animals, but they always have a leader, and I find myself being a leader throughout life, but I understand how to work with others. And I think that's why I think that's the animal that I would choose is a wolf.
I love it, man. And me knowing you for as long as I've known you, I absolutely agree with that. 100%. 100%. And it's like our circus, right? Or our circus is like one big wolf pack, because once you get accepted in the pack, that's it. You're part of the group, no matter what. Even if you stop racing and you left the paddock for 5 years and you show back up, guess what? It's like you never left. Everyone's like, "Oh, hey, what's up? So good to see you." Blah 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 blah. It's that, yeah,
Yeah.
the wolf pack, right? Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Dude, we're a little bit over an hour and 30 in this, so we're gonna cut this off here in a minute. But are you guys a big gun family? Because we love our guns, right? So we go shooting. Well, not as quite often as I want to, but we do go enjoy going.
Yeah, I mean, I have some guns. Yeah, so I just bought one this week. Yeah, I mean, shoot quite a bit. I mean, what I did for a living. I mean, I carried a gun every day, and I
Yeah,
still carry one. Yeah, I mean, Matthew's grown up around guns. We don't have that fear of guns. He understands. He respects them. We store them properly. There's no like. I'm not a gun nut, as people would say, or like this huge 2A guy. I just I enjoy shooting, I enjoy the sport of it. We do Matthew and I hunt a lot. Yeah, you probably didn't know that about him. He's big time into bow hunting, and we can hunt literally right behind our house. And yeah, we enjoy the outdoors, and we enjoy shooting. Like, I don't shoot as often as I used to. I used to shoot a lot, um, and I did some competitions. When I was younger at work, and just life kind of took over, and I don't get to shoot as often as I like. But yeah, I enjoy shooting a lot. I enjoy shooting handguns because it takes pretty good aim, and you got to have good fundamentals shooting handguns as opposed to a long gun. Um, I guess one other thing is like I've built a few AR-15s myself. Like bought the parts and built them. Yeah, I enjoyed tinkering with the things and learned about things. But yeah, yeah. To answer your question, yeah, I'm a gun guy.
yeah, me too. I just built my 300 blackout. Well, it's been 3 years ago.
Yeah,
I did like you. I bought the strip lower that I wanted. Dude, yeah, the whole nine. But put it all together, YouTube videos, all that
yeah,
stuff, and
that's exactly what I did.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then of course, I didn't tell my wife how much I had into it. I had a budget, and I exceeded that budget by pretty good, right? But that's just a whole nother story. It was funny because when she first shot it, she turned and looked at me. She's like, this is an expensive gun right here, because she grew up shooting a lot too, so she knows her guns. I was like, yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah,
We left it at that, right? But when my son was, so I taught my son how to disassemble handguns, all the guns I have. So he knows at a young age, like 4 or 5, this is how you disassemble guns, how you put it back together. I started getting him shooting, trigger placement, the whole nine, right? And then when he was 6, I bought him an AR-15. He's got his own AR-15. That's what he wanted. I'm like, okay. And so yeah, we go out shooting, and yeah, it's a 22 AR, right?
yeah,
Short barrel Smith and Wesson. That thing's so much fun. It's ping, 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 ping. I call it the pinger, right? Because you just ping it all day. Yeah, good
yeah,
stuff, man. Good stuff.
yeah.
Bro,
I do like guns, and I like shooting. And like I said, like I carried an AR-15 at work 25 years, and I'm very proficient with it. And I used to take pride in like my scores, like because we had to qualify every year. With the long gun, we had to qualify twice a year. But if I didn't shoot 100%, I wasn't happy with myself. That was always a goal, to be the best I could with that, because I might save my life or somebody else's life with that thing, and it's very important to be very proficient with the weapon.
110%. Chris Lewis, my buddy from the UK, he says, "Hey guys, how's it going?" It's going absolutely proper mega, man. I'm sitting down with Phil on this magnificent day on this podcast, right? So yeah, how are you doing, Chris? I ain't heard from you in a while, mate. Um, One last question, and then I'll let you give all your shout outs. I'll do mine first. I'll let you end the show, Phil. But Matt, again, congratulations on your championship. Well deserved. It's an absolute honor to be part of the journey and watch your guys' season this year. Can't wait to see what unfolds in 2025. I'm super, super excited about it. But let's say Matt, he's off on his own. He's got his own team, right? Let's just say he's with M4. So now you have an opportunity to have your own superbike team in Moto America. So Phil has his own superbike team in Moto America, right? What brand bike would you have? And what's the 2 current riders you would put on your bike right now?
Oh wow, that's a good one. So if we're talking about right now, what bike? I think I would want to try a Honda. not too many on the grid and Superbike. I mean, Hayden Gillum's out there on one crushing and super stock. But yeah, rider wise, there's so many to choose from. I mean, I think I'd put Alessandro DeMario on one of them. That kid is super fast no matter what he rides. And I mean, of course, I'd want to put my own son on it, but if he's not ready, I think I'd put Gus Rodeo on there. I mean, Kevin's been so good to us. I'd want to give back to Gus a little bit, but also I think Gus can ride anything too. I mean, I've watched him ride his Ducati at this point, and he's fast on it. I mean, he didn't have the best week in New Jersey, but I watched him in some club races. He was ripping on that thing. So yeah, those would be the two guys. And yeah, I think I'd try a Honda just because something different out there, and really, yeah, that I've always liked Hondas. That was my first race bike was a Honda CBR 600, and yeah.
Plus they're paying out contingency money.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, right. So yeah, that would absolutely be mine. You know, in order for our sport to grow, we need our factories back in it, right? We need Kawasaki factory and Suzuki and Honda and Yamaha and all that. But those were the glory days, man. Absolutely glory days. But listen, this has been an absolute honor, Phil. Thank you so much for sitting down. I really enjoyed this. This episode, as you guys know, will be out everywhere tomorrow. But before we get off here and before I let Phil end the show, I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsorships, Next Level Financial, Bison. Listen, I talk about Bison and Next Level all the time. Chef Eats, bro. Have you had any Chef Eats?
I have. They have some good food.
They do. They're absolutely super amazing. I don't know what you guys are waiting for. Go to chefeats.com and place your order. It's to me, it's like it's good to eat at home. I take mine for lunch for work, right? Because it's easy and it's such good food. Throw it in the microwave. It's real quick. It's healthy. Then you don't got to carry shit around. You just throw it away and boom, get back to work, right? Flying Eyes Optics. Flying Eyes Optics is a sponsorship I actually picked up in Wisconsin. They're actually sunglasses. These are the lightest sunglasses I've ever had. They're actually made to be worn underneath your motorcycle helmet. I mean, you can just look at the arms on this thing, right? And my wife's friend likes to steal them from me all the time. I'm surprised I still have them. But anyway, Flying Eyes Optics, they're absolutely amazing. I'll have them at the racetrack. I'll have them in October when I go, well, next weekend. Just come up to me. I'll give them to you. Take them and wear them and try them out. But if you guys want to, you can use the discount code Pendergas 10 for your 10% off there. Big shout out to R&D Racing. They're a big sponsor of mine out there in the UK, and their son Jake Mars, he races in the GP2 class. Well, now he's on a CBR 1000 RRRRRR. I never get tired of saying that, right? And then my man Jim Whitman at Vet2 Track, right? Curing PSTD one lap at a time. So any of my veterans out there, thank you guys for your service. You too, Phil, as well, for being a police officer. But if you guys, dude, reach out to Jim. His whole organization and what he does for all you guys is absolutely amazing. And of course, big shout out to SFL Mini GP, New Jersey and Florida. To me, those are the best two programs we have in America. Look at all the championships that are on the grid right now and all the future ones that are in there that are coming through right now. That's going to be our future legends of our sport too, as well. And 64 Degree Racing, he sent me a custom 2-piece undersuit. It's absolutely my favorite undersuit in the world. It's absolutely the best ever. Last but not least, my man Martin from the Clothing King, my sponsors out there in the UK. You guys can go to theclothingking.co.uk and get all your Pendergas merch out there. And yes, Americans can order it too, right? But anyway, Phil, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, I have to say thank you to you, Chris, first for having me on here. I mean, it means the world to me. I'd like to thank some people that made this season possible. Tim and Connie Brennan, Chuck Otis, Anna Otis for letting Chuck come. My wife Jody, she's been a rock all year long. Colin Barton, he's the man. He really is. He brought us on Barcon Racing. That's a nice shirt there.
Yeah, thank you. I know a guy.
Mike from Triple Strong Racing made the best engine in the paddock. I can tell you that because that thing was money. Blood Lubricants. We had water in our oil and we had no issues. And we actually changed it, flushed it with blood again. And our bike ran like a top. That rebuilt it after the water. Didn't even lose our clutch. It's pretty amazing. That's good stuff. Kings Valley Painting, they've helped us out financially since the beginning, and we owe them the world. Savage Viking Coffee kept us on that caffeine every round. Common Ground is the people who make all of our shirts, jerseys, things like that. You're wearing one of them from Common Ground right now. Yeah, Jose from Common Ground, you took care of us. Rev Graphics, Reese, thank you so much. Appreciate everything you did for us. Our bikes looked amazing all year long. GLS Auto Body, they painted them for us, took care of us. They made our bike look really good this last weekend because we wanted to look great for the last round, and our bike looked sharp. Parts Club, Trackside Parts Club, they treated us great, made sure our bike was running good, always had the parts for us, gave us great discounts. Bison, you already mentioned them. Bison protected my kid. Last couple of years, took care of them, and really, like, that's a family right there. GPR dampeners, we ran those for the last couple of years. Been great. Never had any issues. Kept our bike safe. Kept that front end, stable. It was important. KYT helmets. We've been with you for a while. Thank you so much. I mean, I don't have it with me, but that helmet that they made for the championship, oh my God, did that thing look good.
Beautiful.
So awesome. Yeah, go to Matthew Chapin Racing on Facebook and you can see it. That thing's awesome. K-Tech, our bikes were amazing. They handled great. The trackside support was unreal. They're there every round and they got your back. STG, Max, great season for you. You guys took care of us since the beginning. We appreciate it. JT Motorsports, that's where we got our bike. They've been backing us up ever since we started too. They're local in Frederick, Maryland, and they understand racing. They take care of their people. Orient Express, great job. They helped us with suspension all year. Triple Strong Racing, we've already mentioned them. Mike, our bike was unreal. If you're going to get an engine built, you better go see Triple Strong Racing. I'm telling you, our bike was fast. Woodcraft, they've been with us forever. Woodcraft, they make the best rear sets, clip-ons, all that stuff. Love those guys. And then last but not least, Vortex and EK, been with us ever since the beginning too. And whenever I needed something, I mean, they're all the way out in Utah, but that stuff was there in a day. Like, they took care of us. Caleb was great out there, and I was going to go out and see him last year because I skied in Utah, but it just didn't work out. I called him. I was like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "The office is a mess, whatever." I was like, "Come on, man. I just wanted to meet you." But yeah, I talk to him all the time. Great guy, treated us great. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody. And honestly, I want to thank all the fans and all the people that support Matthew. There's so many other people. I probably forgot some people, and I apologize. But everyone that's followed Matthew, and come out to meet him, everyone that came to the track at some point this year and came to talk to us, that's what it's about. And I just want to thank everybody in the motorcycle industry for being family, because that's what it's about. It's weird. Motorcycles, we have our own family. If you can go anywhere, anytime, talk motorcycles with somebody and you got a connection, and, be passionate about it. So yeah, that's what I'd like to say. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having us. And yeah, man, I can't wait to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see you again. And listen, guys, go to Matt Chapin Racing. Follow him when you see him at the next track. Please go up to him, give him hugs, and show him all the love and support. If he's got t-shirts for sale, buy the t-shirt, get you a hat, wear it in the paddock. It's much appreciated. Huh?
Chapin.
Yeah, Chapin. I'm sorry. My son says that to me all the time. He's like, "Dad, don't forget it's Chapin." I'm like, "Thank you," because I'm bad at pronouncing names.
That's all right. Everyone does it. Roger Hayden, I had to correct him. I was like, "Hey, his grandmother's getting upset. You got to fix this."
I love it.
Yeah.
But yes, guys and girls, please go through the paddock. Show him nothing but love. He's an absolute legend. Can't wait to see what 2025 brings. And yeah, thank you guys so much for all the love and support. It really means the world to me. I get emotional when I think about it and say it. But thank you. I love each and every one of you. Without you guys giving me all this love and support, it'd be hard to do what I do. So I greatly appreciate it. I hope everybody's Friday is just as proper mega as you guys are. And I will see you soon. And one last thing, what an honor it was, ladies and gentlemen, to sit down with Phillip Chapin. I didn't get it wrong. See, I didn't get it wrong.
Great
All
job.
right, guys. Yep. We'll see you guys later. All right.
All right. Take care.
Hang on, Phil. Give me one.